Welcome to the messy middle of entrepreneurship, unfiltered and unapologetic. Uncensored Entrepreneurs, hosted by Starr, Robert Wall, and Tina Torres-Wilson, brings you real stories from the trenches of building a business. Those late nights, hard lessons, big wins, and everything in between. This is where the truth about entrepreneurship lives. No fluff, no filters, just raw, honest conversations with founders who have lived it. So, if you're over the highlight reel and you're ready for the real deal, hit play. A lot of entrepreneurs start their business looking for freedom, and they end up building a job that they just can't unplug from. Safia Sattaur is here to change that. She's a business and marketing coach who helps women escape survival mode and build profitable, freedom-first businesses. With over a decade of experience and her signature Reach 50 framework, Safia teaches service-based founders how to build sales ecosystems that grow on autopilot so that they can scale without burnout and they can reclaim their time. This conversation is all about making your business work for you and not the other way around. Safia, welcome to the Uncensored Entrepreneurs.
Thank you so much for having me here. What an intro.
Let me tell you, your podcast topic is coming right on. I have a very hard time to get off. My clients get me 24/7 or so they used to. When they're texting me or whatever, I feel inclined to text back 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. And in fact, my friend and our podcast producer, when she texts me that late, she goes, I do not expect you to answer. And that I do. And she goes, why are you answering? This was a client question, not a friend question. And I'm like, sorry. She's like, don't be sorry. You have to unplug. Why is it so important for entrepreneurs to unplug after we work 100 hours a week?
Why is it so important for entrepreneurs to unplug after we work 100 hours per week? Well, let's just say we worked 100 hours per week. Hello, right? Let's just start there. Obviously, there's the nervous system, there's your mental health, there's all of that. But if we look at it from a business perspective, can you truly serve your clients? Can you truly show up for your business? Can you truly do all the things that we as entrepreneurs need to do for our business if we are constantly on, if there's no white space, if there's no detachment from the day in, day out, right? The urge or the feeling, I just want to respond to my clients, that comes from a really great place. That comes from a place of service, of being a kind person, of wanting to make sure your clients are taken care of. But at the same time, it's still unhealthy because that's the expectation for what your clients now. Oh, well, now she didn't respond at 11 p.m. That must mean X, Y, or Z, right?
Let me tell you, I implemented this about 10 days ago. And the other day, my client goes, oh, well, you didn't respond to me last night. I'm like, well, it was 11 o'clock at night.
We need those boundaries. And it just trains them to, in my opinion, regard you a little bit higher. There's that separation between when we're on and we're in a session, and they value that time so much more because they know this is the time I get with you. I'm not going to be able to text you when a random, you know what I mean? So I feel like those boundaries are obviously helpful for you, but it's also so beneficial for the client relationship too.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you're talking about setting these boundaries, right? These expectations. Just like to your point and Tina's, for many years in business, I just served, especially with multiple time zones, right? It didn't matter if I was working at 1 a.m, 2 a.m. If someone was having dialogue, I immediately responded. And since then, I found that that was creating a lot of burnout. So you set those expectations on the front end, even if they're on the other end of the world, right? That's very critical. I would like to ask you this before we dive in more, just to the business side of things. I love getting down to the essence of who Safia is, like not just for our understanding, but the audience and in your audience, that prior to Reach 50, if we go back, I think you said 10 years-ish, you've been in business. Let's go back to the beginning and that transition.
Okay, so I'll give you the short version, which is I'm also a mom of 3. I started this business, my coaching marketing business, when my second was about a year old. I had a business before, it did well, but I knew I wanted something more. Again, the short version. So I have been raising my children while also building this business. And so I always say my business is my fourth baby because it requires sometimes the same amount of love and nurturing and patience and attention to grow a healthy business. So when I really took things full force prior to the social media online marketing space, I've been doing this for a long time. I used to just do in-person events. I would do workshops. I would do speaking. That's how I would generate most of my leads and my sales. And then when I had my third, I decided that let me try this social media online digital marketing space. It was convenient. I was still trying to lose the baby weight. She was little. So I started marketing my business online, Facebook groups back then. Instagram wasn't what it is now. And what I quickly realized was that you get sucked into the vortex. Social media, while it's so powerful, it breeds this imposter syndrome.
Oh my gosh.
Breeds like, oh my God, that coach just hit that amount of money. This is what she did.
Look at her beautiful car. Look, she's going to Dubai.
No matter how strong we think we are and how that's not my value, when it's in your face 24/7, when you're online, when you're like, okay, I'm just going to go on to post my latest offer or my newest amazing content that I just created. And then boom, this one scrolls up and it's hard to avoid, right? And so to answer your question, Robert, it was years of that marketing, online marketing, social media, post, comment, engage, join this group. It was almost like it just hits you one day, right? What slowly started to happen for me was constant burnout and the algorithm constantly changing. Okay, this month we dialed it down and we figured it out. Boom, they changed the algorithm again. And so now they're saying post multiple times a day. How do you stay relevant? How do you stay top of mind? How do you win trust and build your brand and build your business in this digital age that we're in without some level of burnout because of what these platforms have normalized as the level of success, right? And this is something I'm so passionate about because I think that we're not built for hustle, but we've been conditioned to think that when we don't hustle, oh God, if we miss that post or if we didn't launch, then that must mean I am not as successful or that must mean I am falling behind. That is, I think, what that first step, that burnout and that overwhelm happens. And unfortunately, I see many incredibly brilliant, skilled, talented entrepreneurs in our space and in other industries as well burn it all down because they couldn't keep up with the demand.
Yeah. Safia, you talked a little bit about this, but tell us about your own journey. Was there a point where you'd reached a level of success, you felt that burnout, and you knew you had to implement systems? What did that look like for you?
So I had already hit six figures in my business, doing it, the launch, the post, everything, right? I was already at the six-figure mark. I had my third child, my baby, and I remember one day the launch was coming up and I was writing those launch emails. And so she was about maybe 2.5, maybe 3 at the time. And she walks into my office and she's got this little Build-A-Bear doll that I had bought for her. And she wanted my help to put the doll's dress on. And I was in the middle of typing this email. I didn't even look at her.
Full in creative mode.
Yes, I didn't even look at her. I can see her from the corner of her eyes holding the doll and holding the dress and telling me she needs help. And I said something along the lines of, Mommy has to, can you just wait? And she says, Mommy has to work. She finished the sentence for me. And I was like, oh my God, this child has heard that so many times that she can predict my next words. So she puts her head down and she walks out. And what happens to the mom? I am riddled with guilt.
Mom guilt sets in big time.
Big time. But then the other part of my brain is shit. So that is when the moment I realized I didn't build my business to neglect my child. Quit at a corporate job to stay home and be present for my kids, to not actually be present for my kids.
It knows that mommy has to work.
That was my point for me, which is I have to figure out a way where I'm not in it all the time. And I was also going through a launch, which I knew that that wasn't really the type of selling I like to do, but I was doing it anyway because that's what you do. And it was all in that time when after that launch, I was like, nope, that's it. This cannot be the way that I do this anymore. And that was the beginning of me. How do I do things differently? How can I look at my own systems? How can I look at the things that resonate for me? What do I need to change so that now it works for me?
So true. You unpacked a lot there, right? And of course, in a podcast, we can only touch on just a slight part of that. But I do want to break that down just a little bit. I'm so glad that you talked about the grind and the hustle and the things that you've done over 10 years, because each one of us, I know we can nod our heads and be like, yeah, it's the constant pivot. It's things continue to change. The algorithm works against us, right? Never in our favor. So all those things continue to really either one, put you out of business, or for those that are willing to roll up their sleeves and to embrace the pivot and change, it forces us to make those next moves. The other thing is, I'm dad. I love my kids so much. They're my world.
You're not just typical dad.
Super dad.
Yes, super dad. I got older children, I got younger kids. But when you talked about that, I really felt that because I know exactly what that's like. And I remember years ago putting on classes around building your vision board and your why, right? We all have this why. We talk about the why. It has to be strong enough to make us cry. And yet we're neglecting our why. This is why we're in business, right? That's why we work so hard. So I'm so glad you brought that up. And then the third thing, it just segues into Starr's point and everything that you've shared. It is about systems. It's about finding amidst the storm.
I hope you're enjoying this conversation. I want to take a quick moment to share something that comes up a lot with my clients. Selling doesn't have to feel heavy or exhausting. I work with course creators and coaches who are tired of launching all the time and not seeing consistent results. Inside Pink Door Marketing Agency, I help them build evergreen systems that work in the background and bring in the right people with ease. If you're ready to sell in a way that feels aligned, visit pinkdoormarketingagency.com. Now let's get back to the show.
It makes us in that pivot just become more creative, more in tune, more in alignment. We realize I have to do this a better way. And so in doing that, you start creating systems. And I would imagine led you to your trademarked framework, which is Reach 50. What can you share with us about the Reach 50? I'm really excited to hear about that.
Yeah. So my Reach 50 framework is based on working with hundreds of clients at this point and definitely a crap ton of trial and error on my part. And I used to do things completely organically. And then I branched into playing with ads. And then I became obsessed with ads. I saw the quick results with ads, started helping clients with ads, obviously did it on my own. So to stay on topic is what I've learned and realized is that you actually need a combination of both. There's a lot of people in the online marketing space that will not touch ads because it's too expensive or it's complicated. And there's other people that are, I don't have time for social media. I veer on that side. But what I've realized, especially over the past 2 years or so, if we don't have this ecosystem, if we don't have brand presence along with some sort of a sales system that is generating leads and clients consistently, you're going to, again, burn out, or you're going to fizzle up, or you are going to be working really, really hard when there's a simpler way. So I developed the Reach 50 framework based on just all of these different ways that I've played with marketing. I'm a geek about marketing, right? And sales. And just to break it down quickly without getting into too many details, the reach part of it, the R basically stands for rapid resonance. So it's my firm belief that we don't need to be providing all this value and slaving away in front of our screen all day. I firmly believe that with the right processes in place, a person can land on you for the very first time and you create that rapid resonance. I teach that. I teach my clients how to create that magnetic rapid resonance so that right away a person can make a decision. Hey, that's somebody I want to at least learn from, or if not buy from right away, I want to stay in this person's world. The E is basically for your offers and just the way in which your offers expert positioning. The A is for ads, because ads do not have to be this big complicated funnel. You can literally spend $2, $3 a day on ads and grow your presence. C is for conversion. So obviously a big part of that is you've got all those steps in place. Now, how are we converting those clicks into clients? How are we actually making sales? We're in business here, right? The H is basically for honing the process. And that's the part where we optimize things. Again, you look at the system, you standardize before you optimize, right? We look at the positioning, starting with the resonance, the ads, all those pieces, and then we hone it so that we can optimize it and make it better. And the 50 is probably the part that most people love, which is I firmly believe that 50% of your traffic every single month needs to be coming from a cold audience. You need to be generating new, fresh eyes on your business, on your offers. At least 50% of that needs to come from new people. And there's billions of people in this world. You need 0.5%.
I love the acronym. I was getting excited. I was leaning in because when you said the 50, I was thinking it was for old people like me. So
We were so excited to find out what the 50 meant. I said maybe 50 leads per month. I wasn't sure. I love that. I do a lot of organic marketing myself, and I do run ads as well. But what I find is that people will start to curate their personal profile, right? On Facebook specifically. And then here we are 3, 4 years later, and you still have the same 5,000 friends. Some of them are no longer in that industry for you to even sell to. So I love that you're bringing new people to in front of your clients so that they can continue to sell. And that's what's going to help them to increase those sales. So I love that.
With Facebook specifically, it's challenging to get new eyes organically. It really is because you either have to be a friend or nobody's on your fan page. Nobody's on the business page. We know this. And if you're not pimping yourself out in those groups are not doing what they need to do to grow and bring fresh traffic in. You're circulating in the same pool over and over and over again. With a platform like Instagram, it's open. You don't need to be gated like in Facebook in order to get cool traffic and fresh eyes on your content or on your brand every month.
So then do you have your clients focus more so on Instagram ads? I'm big on strategy, so I'll ask more questions around the strategy factor. You talk about the $2 to $3 per day ads, and I've heard people do that, and we've done retargeting ads as well. So with such a small budget, are you taking them strictly to Instagram? Is it just strictly retargeting ads, or is it like instant folders?
Yes. So one thing about me is I customize everything based on my clients. No two businesses are the same, right? Especially when I work one-on-one with clients. So to answer your question, it's more of visibility ad. And it really just depends on if you have an e-com store, for instance, are we sending traffic? If you are a service provider, like most of us here, we're basically using high converting content and running traffic to those specific pieces of content. And to come back to my R in the framework, the content needs to be very specifically and strategically created to create that rapid resonance. So you don't just scroll past it. Now you see it. Now you want to follow. You want to be in that person's world. And so that is a low lift. Anybody can start doing that, especially if you're already creating content online, especially if you're already consistent. Why not work smarter? The beauty in that is you don't need to have new content every single day because the ads are going in front of new people. So that one video or that one whatever can really last 2-3 months with the right strategy in place. Whereas organically, every couple days or with that day or two, depending on the algorithm, if you're not viral, you're not trending, you can fall off very quickly and you need more content to be relevant.
that's so true. Even with this podcast or any type of content that's out there, you could be talking on a topic that really doesn't build traction immediately where other topics do. But in months down the road, all of a sudden you see something blow up. One episode from even a year ago, it's the hot topic. It's what people are starting to pivot into.
And that's fantastic when that happens. But the problem with that is it's not predictable and it's not sustainable. You cannot scale a business on that. You know what I mean?
I was at an event this weekend and we were talking about the reels. So face to cam, obviously, I'm sure that's how your clients are delivering, but a lot of the reels that perform would be maybe some text on an image. And then you're getting followers who are not even the people that you want to sell to.
And sometimes you got to play the game, but the text on the image, the hook, and see, that's also another thing. I don't believe in followers being your star metric. People might follow you and they never buy from you. Or even worse, okay, 1 million people viewed my viral post, but are they your ideal clients?
quite honestly, you need fans. There's a place for that. But as you said, you're not scaling your bank account or your business based on just that alone. So it is an interesting mix. One of the things I do want to ask, because when we talked earlier about just creating a business that now provides you the ability to scale, maybe not work as hard, all in the service of freedom, having some more freedom in life and business. So let's just talk about that word. Tell us a little bit more about what defines freedom in your business and in your life today.
Well, for me, it's simple. Not being at my desk all the time. For me, it's I can walk away. I can take a month-long vacation. I was for a month in August. We were traveling. I can go to take a walk with my kids at the park, whatever, and not have that worry is the best way to describe it, that I am losing out on sales or I'm not going to hit my revenue goals or whatever the case may be. To be able to unplug from your business and have a sense of groundedness and ease in I have systems in place that's working in the background for me so I don't have to. And not requiring your constant presence either, right? There's a difference with the belief and the mindset work. Oh, I know the clients are going to come. That's fantastic. That's amazing. We can journal, we can vision board all day long. I'm telling you, it's when you have it and you taste it, there's no going back. Because it's when you know, all right, I have a sales system running in the background. I'm generating high quality leads. My systems are converting those leads into one of my pay offers. Whatever that pathway to profit, which is what I call it in my programs, whatever that pathway to profit looks like for you, we map that out. But the beauty in that, to answer your question, Robert, coming back to the freedom, is that this is what my clients always say. When you know I can just leave, because guess what? Even though I didn't post for a week, people are coming through the pipeline. So it takes that pressure off of having to show up. And that's what I mean about that survival mode. So many women in business are stuck in survival mode because they have to show up, they have to keep up, they have to post. Now, when you build a system and you know that it's working, it takes some of that internal pressure off and it allows you to be more in flow. Think about when you're, okay, I just have to post, I have to create something, versus when your creative juices are flowing. Content comes from that place, right? And you can't get there if you're in survival mode.
Exactly. If you're treading water, right, there's just no way you're going to be able to offer. That is so true. And I also think what that all leads into, and this was just something that came to me. I have a client that I helped them prepare their signature talk, and they had a big event just 2 weeks ago, speaking from stage. And they talked a great deal about the fact that if they didn't build systems and they didn't have the right relationships and the people internally to help collaborate with, if they didn't have those things in place to run their business, even at 75% in your absence, then when she had cancer and she was absent for a full 18 months from her business. But the legacy story is the fact that for 18 months, she was able to pay bills and survive because of all the groundwork that she put in place in advance. And so that just came to mind because when you were talking that whole time, I was thinking, so true. Most businesses are literally 1 to 2 weeks away from shutting their doors. It's amazing. So if you can create that culture and to create the systems that help run and operate your business, wow, talk about freedom, right?
The number one thing that people come to me for is not just how do I make more money and scale my business. The number one thing people come to me for is, Safia, how do I make more money, get clients, and scale my business without having to be in it 24/7? That is what people are craving more now than ever.
The business owner, for that woman, even for the man who's scared to give the reins over, to take a break, what is a mindset reframe that would help them trust the business will still run without them working 24/7?
That's such a great question. I bring it back to evidence. I am a big fan of mindset work, obviously, but sometimes we just need the evidence to give us the confidence. So what I would do in that situation is I would look at what's already working for you that you can be relaxed around this. And then we use that asset or whatever that thing is And we show them how we can confidently take that and create the system out of it. It's micro steps, right? Someone who can't give up control needs micro steps. So it would really just be, okay, cool. You batch content, let's just say on Mondays or whatever. How do we create a system out of there? And we start with that. They could be like, yeah, you know what? I feel good about that. And then the evidence of seeing that give them back so much time, space, and freedom, then they'll be like, okay, on to the next.
That's so true. And that goes hand in hand with those limiting beliefs that you talked about earlier. I love how you talked about if this is working for you, okay, then let it run. And then let's move on to the other thing. New business owners, especially, they like to hover over the things that are working well because it's safe. That's a safe space. And the fear is everything else outside of that space, all the things that we should be doing are not in the comfort zone, right? So we usually like to stay right here. It's nice, warm, and cozy. My business is operating well. However, that's only 20% of what my business really is all about. So
Yeah, I'll share a quick story on that. And I actually did a video on this a little while ago. So you asked me, when was that time when I knew that something was ready to change? And I was working with a mentor. All we were doing was just be consistent, just post. And I love this mentor, amazing, learned a lot. But I knew internally, what got me here is not going to get me there. I need to do something else. And so I use the analogy of the very first time I went ziplining. And when I went ziplining, you're standing on the platform, you're all harnessed up, you got the people behind you for the most part, you think you're safe, right? You can see across, at least in my experience when I was doing it, you can see the end goal and you can see the finish line. And you're standing there. And for me personally, it wasn't about going across the zip line. The hardest part for me when I looked down was my feet was on the platform. And that was safe. I knew the moment I took my feet off that platform, I didn't know what was going to happen on that journey. I tell this story to some people from time to time because that's the scariest part, is taking your feet off. The first step is always the hardest step. But when you are swinging and you're in it and you get to the other side and you look back, I would have never gotten to this other side if I didn't take my foot off the platform. So I took my foot off the platform, and that's actually when I started investing in ads for the first time, because I was doing everything organically. And boy, oh boy, within 30 days, I was like, there's no way I'm not having this in some way, shape, or form in my business. Now, do I always have ads running? No, not always, but you best believe I'm not going back to just relying to be at the mercy of an algorithm.
what a great title for a book, right? Taking the first step off that platform, your first step. I absolutely love that. So obviously there's so many amazing things that you're offering your community, and I can't wait to find out more about the Reach 50. Safia, what's the best way that our community and others that are tapping in can connect with you and find out a little bit more about that?
I actually have a private podcast series as well. It's just a limited audio series where I really take people behind the scenes of what it's like to get out of survival mode and scale your business without being in it 24/7. It's a combination of some of my own personal stories, and I explain the Reach 50 strategies in there. And I also do something really cool that I haven't seen done on other podcasts. I do two things. One, I bring on one of my clients who scaled from making 1,000 or so a month up to 90K a month. And now she's way beyond. We went behind the scenes of her business, of where she was stuck in survival mode. And then the other really cool thing I do on this is that I do a real live business audit. And this is not my client. This is a complete random person who decided, hey, I'm willing to volunteer for that. Do a business audit of that person's business where it's, here are the gaps and here's where you can systemize. It's really cool to see someone who may be in business for a while and have been doing things, but these are your blind spots, right? And so a lot of people can learn from that. So the private podcast series, I think, is probably the best way to get a feel of who I am, what I do, and what my frameworks and my process is all about.
Okay. And for those listening, we'll make sure we have all your links in our podcasts and any of our posts. Where can they find you on that podcast? Is it your website directly or somewhere else?
My website is actually under construction. Will be up very soon. But if you go to my Instagram, you can find me at Safia Sattaur everywhere. If you go to my Instagram, it's definitely linked in the bio. You can go to trainings.safiasattaur/amplify. That's the name of it. It's called Build to Amplify.
For those driving down the road that aren't actually looking at the podcast, it's Safia Sattaur. It's Sattaur. That's how they can find you all across social media and specifically Instagram. I'm really excited just to find out a little bit more myself. And when we start to unpack that, what we always like to do is to let you know as our guests to have you back on later on so that we can really drill in to some of that work. And I think what would be really fun, if my co-host would agree, is to actually have you do a business audit maybe next time when we have someone on the show.
I would love that. I love being put on the spot, Robert.
I'll tell you in advance. So, I mean, at least you'll know. You just won't know who it is, but you'll know that someone's showing up for that. So
I'm game. I told you I'm a geek about this stuff.
I love it. Safia, thank you so much for coming on the Uncensored Entrepreneurs. We love having people like you come out and giving their expertise and sharing their tips and tools. What is one last thing that you would like our audience to know?
I think what I would say is that business is changing, marketing is changing, the way people consume content is changing. And the best thing you can do for your business is build systems early, build systems fast, and build them smart, because it's not about hitting X revenue 1 month. It's about replicating that month after month. It's about that consistency. Yes, we started because we're passionate, but at the end of the day, you have to earn money. That's what's going to keep you in business, right? And it's really hard to do that if you're starting from zero every single month or every single time. Systems can be as simple as, how am I starting my day? How am I sending my emails? Even your team can be part of your system. So I guess it would be build systems early, build system fast, build them in a way that it's sustainable, because we're not meant to be a slave to our business. Our businesses are meant to be a reflection of our genius. And we can't do that if we're stuck behind the scenes all the time.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
thank you so much for being on our show today. And again, for those that have tuned in on this episode, we've had our wonderful guest, Safia Sattaur. She's a business and marketing coach who helps women entrepreneurs escape survival mode and build profitable, freedom-first businesses. Thank you. Have a nice day, and we'll see you again on another episode of The Uncensored Entrepreneurs. Thanks for listening to The Uncensored Entrepreneurs. If you're getting value from the show, take a minute to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you tune in. It helps more bold entrepreneurs find us. Until next time, keep showing up, uncensored and unapologetic, and we'll catch you on the next episode.